This is the second part of an old man sharing his heart. You probably can tell where I'm sitting now. It's one of my favorite places. The rain is trickling down on the roof, and it's a little bit difficult to get out to one of the high spots where I overlook things, so we'll do this indoors. We'll start here and I'll move to another one of my favorite spots for part two. This will probably be a little more than the 5 minutes I said, but I have been pondering a number of things in recent days and have a lot of time to think, as I haven't slept beyond 4 o'clock many mornings, and sometimes even earlier than that. I'm up this morning, the same thing, and I had a couple things I thought I would share. May include a song at the end, which will make it a twofer in terms of the number of things that you have to watch. I'll let you know when we get, or excuse me, poorly said. Let me know when you get to 5 sessions, and I will send you a little thank you note. The shack has a lot of pictures and a lot of memories in them. The old telephone over my shoulder, the old radio that I used to listen to many of the ball games on when I was a kid, the bear coat, which came from several generations from Germany, where great for you, another great, or maybe another great grandma found the Lord and shared with everybody in the community. And we've been passing on things from generation to generation. So grateful that I have this opportunity, and you take a few minutes to listen. I have several things that I would like to share, and I'll go over a brief outline here and may cover a few more in detail. 1960, I made a commitment to follow the Lord. I, for the first time, heard a salvation message that I heard, and immediately I knew I had to ask the Lord to forgive me of my sins. Since then, and it will continue to be a roller coaster of highs and lows. There was some great times in Bible camp where two of my best friends, or my two best friends, were called into the ministry, and I kept looking over my shoulder, but really felt that I was to go into teaching and coaching. And looking back 50 years later, know that this is where the Lord wanted me to be. Of course, we'll maybe cover some of the other details of the events that took place where I eventually end up in Ely and have a beautiful bride to spend the time with. But as I was going through a number of old clippings and files, I ran across I had completely forgotten about it, but an article that was written in the Christian Athlete in November of 1971. And there was an article in there that I had completely forgotten about. It talked about Wrong Way Wetzel, and it covered an event that took place my freshman year. And I think we'll maybe switch locations for me to tell you that story and share a few prayer requests with you. Maybe this is a good place to insert also. Still been really struggling. My health is getting worse as the weeks go by. I've had a lot of pain down the sciatic in the legs, and as I said, sleep is difficult. Best time of my day is when I'm out and about and not thinking about it, kind of like a toothache, and going from there. But there are some decisions that we can make in the midst of times like that, and that's one of the things I would love to continue to share with you. When those difficult times come, we get to make a choice, and I am so grateful for the family that surrounds me, and that's why I started here. The pictures on the wall and the people that influenced me so much. And I'll finish this part, second time I said that, but I'll finish this part by simply saying the picture, the last one we had with Nikki together as a family, that young man impressed me and has left an impression upon my life that I will never forget. We loved him not for what he did, but for who he was. And I know that's how we are loved, both within the family and how the Lord loves us. And I miss my dad. Think of him often. Wish I could talk to him, but as Howard told Lil when she was scolding him and said she was going to call his mom while they were in the nursing home, that would be a long distance call. And I don't get to talk to Dad, but as that country song said, I hear voices all the time, and grateful for that. And remember saying to Mom, "Who is that guy?" as I watched him grow older. So there's the first 5 minutes I promised you. So I'm going to switch locations and finish this up in another spot, and you'll probably know where it is when we turn it on. You might know where I am now, and if not, you will in a moment. It was raining a moment ago, but since it's Minnesota, the sun is now shining. You get extra credit if you recognize the sweatshirt that I was wearing. That was totally random. I went downstairs and looked for a nice warm sweatshirt because it was nasty cold, wind blowing and rainy this morning. And after I put it on and zipped it up, I saw it is one that you guys got my dad for a Christmas present. Or maybe it was Becky. I don't remember. The years have passed, but it's Grandpa Arn and his John Deere tractor. Again, left a tremendous impression upon my life. As I said, Nikki did, and so did my dad. We all have that ability to have an influence on a person or two in our life, and hope that we take advantage of that. But back to the event at hand, the Wrong Way Wetzel article was one that they said I had written. I guess I maybe did, but I'm sure that Missy would understand that if a jock writes an article, it has to be edited. And there were a few things left out that I thought should have been in the article. Needless to say, here's my version of it. I was a freshman at college, came and led a pretty sheltered life. And I remember, I've told the story before, my freshman year, we were the only ones on campus. No, only football players on campus, no one else. And I was the only one on my floor at the dorm, and I knew no one. And I remember writing a letter to Mom. Those you youngsters, a letter is where you write it longhand and put it in an envelope with a stamp and send it. I sent a letter to Mom saying, I don't know if I'll last long here. I'm really lonely. Then, as the weekend came, I was invited to what colleges offer, a pretty wild time, and went out just to observe. And in the middle of that, I remember having to make some major decisions as to what my lifestyle would be like in terms of alcohol and interactions with other people. And after some thought, the Holy Spirit convicted me. Still had to make a choice, and I went back to the dorm room by myself. A few weeks later, when Mom and Dad came to watch me play a ball game, Mom said, "Man, there was a Saturday night that I just had this tremendous burden to pray for you." And I did, Tom. And I don't think I ever told her, but that was the moment that I had to make a decision how to live my life. And it reflected how I would live my life the rest of my college days. That said, doesn't mean that I followed the Lord. I kind of faded away from my Christian walk. I got involved in just a bunch of fun things, but left the Lord behind that fall and into that winter. And that's where the article comes about. My pastor from Wells said, hey, I would like to pick you up and let's go listen to, I imagine it was Teen Challenge, but to some people who lives have been changed by Jesus. And we did. And I was really impressed, as the article said. And it was at that point I started to make a change in my life. Not that I was running in a direction that the world would call was wrong, but in terms of my spiritual walk, it was dead. And I had to make a decision, and I decided to serve the Lord. Backing up, about the same time that was happening, or an analogy to when that was happening, it probably is better said. My freshman year, I started the first conference game, had an interception for a touchdown. I looked at, here we go, as a great career. And that next Tuesday, my future roommate stepped on my right hand, broke my ring finger on my right hand, and I was out for the rest of the conference season. And I was pretty disappointed, looking for a great career, and then I was out. Came back against University of Minnesota Duluth. We needed to win to win the conference, and they allowed me to start. Now, the part that was missing from the article was there was a big bandage wrapped around my hand with foam and whatever it was called, a club hand. And so I wouldn't hurt anybody. I had to have a splint on my finger since it had been broken a month before or so. And I intercepted a pass. And when I did, I only had the one hand that I kept tipping it, and I was running and running to catch the ball. And when I did, finally, I was going full speed in the opposite direction. And thinking my speed would get me out of this dilemma, I continued to arc backwards, trying to outrun the people who were trying to tackle me. And when it was done, I had gone the wrong way about 60 or 70 yards, maybe more. I would have to look at the article now to see exactly. And Jocko Nelson, who had recruited me at Gustavus and then went on to be a coach at the Vikings, labeled me during film session that night as Wrong Way Wetzel. By the way, we did win the game and we won the conference that year, but that Wrong Way Wetzel stuck for a while. And then as I spoke the following year, as I was starting to walk with the Lord, I more weekends than not would go and speak in churches and just talk about Jesus. And I had used that analogy during some of the talks. And so somebody picked it up and I guess I wrote the article. But here's the final line. There's going to be times in your life when you're chasing the wrong things or thinking that you're going in the right direction, and you may be going in the wrong direction. It's happened to me a couple of times in life. You need to keep the main thing the main thing. And I know that each of you, as I did in 1960 when I heard the Lord, each of you that have heard this have at one point in your life made a commitment to the Lord. I've heard it via your own words, your testimony when being baptized, or from your folks, and that includes the adults too. And sometimes we begin to just lose sight of where we should be going. And when that happens, take a deep breath, see where your goal actually is in life and what you would like to be doing, and begin to head in that direction. We are never lost. The Lord is always there to help us. But somewhere along the line, we need to keep the main thing the main thing. And I'll simply finish with that. I've got a few other thoughts that I will probably throw in from time to time. But Wrong Way Wetzel in 1970, fall of that year, did find his way, and grateful for that in the midst of that. I went from wonderful times in the prayer room with Jesus and feeling the Spirit of the Lord move and watching the calling of the Lord upon some of my best friends' life, to a dry season, which was a great season in my life from the eyes of the world, but was really missing something. And so keep that in mind when sometimes you're heading in the wrong direction. Keep the main thing the main thing. And one more time, I can't tell you how much I love you and love being in this area that we get to. There's a few colors out there starting to show up, and somewhere over there, I don't know if I can turn enough, my good friend that follows me here and there, Remy, is sitting waiting for me to continue our ride out here. So love you all. Talk to you again soon. This is part 3. We'll talk to you again. Bye.